Okay, so now here's to your question. What's your name?
Josh.
Josh. To Josh's question. So why don't we just give away formatting markup, and why don't we just give away HTML entirely? Why was it that the World Wide Web exploded? How was it that the World Wide Web exploded? It literally exploded. It really, really did explode over a period of, say, 2 years, between 2-3 years between the time it was invented and the time everybody and their brother wanted to do an HTML page and was doing an HTML page. What happened? Why was that possible? Was it possible because they took the Boeing approach of the World Wide Web is going to be an enormous, hugely structured, everything in its right place, all the things named well kind of thing? Or was it able to explode because they took the writing a letter to your uncle approach of, I just want it to look a certain way and leave me alone and don't tell me anything I don't need to know? Right? There is a basic dichotomy. There's a basic sort of yin-yang about those two things. One is be as absolutely permissive as possible, be as simple as possible, don't let anybody do anything that's remotely difficult. And that's how HTML started. HTML started as something that fit on a single sheet of paper. I don't know if you guys know this, but you could learn HTML. This is how I learned HTML. One piece of paper, one side, that had all the tags and what they do. And if you don't close a tag, it's okay. We'll let you get away with it. If you, well, you can't spell it wrong, but if you spell it wrong, we'll still display the thing on the screen. We're not going to nag you about it. If you get something wrong, we're going to try to make it out. If you don't have the right number of rows in the table, we're not going to just like crash, right? We're going to try to display the table. And so this is the answer to your question. HTML, even though it's kind of lame in the way things are named, it's really easy. And it's really straightforward, and especially the way it was invented. Today, it's not quite so straightforward. We keep adding more and more features onto it to make it more complex. But it's still got the basic idea that when I see something and it's working, it's done. I don't have to worry about all the sophisticated structure. I don't have to look at my thing as structural. So I can look at it as just what I want to have show up on the screen in the way that most people write letters in Microsoft Word. I just want it to look like what it's going to look like when the other person sees it. And then I'm happy. I don't care about its structure. I don't care about how everything is named and that the names are all consistent and that everybody understands the name, because nobody's going to see the name. If I happen to remember that it's a TD and I get my TD in the right place, the table's going to show up and I'm done. Right? That's a really nice way to do it. That's what formatting markup does for you. That's why HTML is generally, and to a large extent with some modern enhancements notwithstanding, a formatting language. It's, I want it to look this way. And in fact, we're now doing with HTML exactly what we did with word processing markup. We're driving it underground. And when you use something like Dreamweaver and WYSIWYG mode, you never even have to see the tags. And in fact, that's the way it should be for mere mortals, for regular people, for people who just want to put up a web page. They should type something, they should click the little B button, it should be bold, and they should be done with it and not care about it. Because that's how most people want to interact with their information. We're different. We want to interact with our information as architects, as structural engineers, as people who understand how that information is put together and are able to construct it in a way that gives us maximum leverage with that information. Most people want minimum leverage, and they're willing to pay for minimum leverage. I mean, most people want convenience, and they're willing to pay for convenience with minimum leverage. They can't do anything with their information, but at least it looks okay, right? And that's HTML. Okay, so here's some parameters. Did that answer your question, Josh?
It did.
Okay. Here's some parameters that you can think of to kind of contrast markups. And we have word processing markup like you might find in Microsoft Word or OpenOffice or something like that. We have XML and HTML. Now, don't get twisted around the fact that sometimes Word now uses XML or whatever. This is a general purpose way of looking at these three ways of doing markup. We have HTML. HTML is ASCII or Unicode. That means you can type it in Notepad, basically. Word processing markup, at least traditionally, has been binary. Binary means that you can't type it in Notepad. They've created their own codes to represent all their markup. So that's why when you look at a word processing document, say in Notepad or sometimes in some other applications, you get all those weird little funny characters, you know, like Halloween pumpkins and smiley faces and exclamation points and black boxes. Right? You seen that? What is that? That's all the binary that the ASCII or Unicode program like Notepad is trying to figure out what it is, has no idea what it is, and so it just puts in some random garbage character. Okay, so these ones, HTML and XML, are done in plain text. That's what this means. Meaning anybody anywhere can open it up and look at it. If you try to look at it, it doesn't look like garbage because you don't have the right interpreter. It looks like standard text. That makes them open. That makes them easily accessible. That makes them so that anybody can read anybody else's work. That's another big reason why the web exploded, because when you don't know how to do something, what do? Rip it off from somebody else, right? And that's what you do, and that's okay, and everybody does it, and that's how it works. That's how the knowledge expands. You find somebody who got it working, that did it right, you copy their thing, paste it into yours, change some things around, and now yours works. Right? That's because it's open. That's because it's ASCII. That's because it's able to be opened by anybody using a standard program. Okay, HTML.